Julius, it is smooth sailing so far for Steve Fossett. He is about an hour and a half into his flight over Australia and heading east. We want you to take a look at some pictures from Australia this morning where it is still morning, and you can take a look at the launch. Fossett's balloon, called the Bud Light Spirit of Freedom, took off at 8:37 St. Louis time from the town of Northam, Australia, which is a small town on the west coast of Australia. Now, there was some concern early on about this launch because of some winds that were hampering the inflation of the balloon, but the launch wound up being delayed about 3 to 4 hours, and as you can see from these pictures and from what they're telling us here at Mission Control, the launch today went smoothly. Now, this is the 58-year-old Fossett's 6th attempt at flying around the world solo. His last attempt in July of last year lasted for about 12 days before bad weather forced him down in Brazil. That was the longest ever solo balloon flight. This time, we are told, Fossett has an improved balloon, and his team here in St. Louis says they are not feeling the frustrations from past failures.
His amazing journey. We want to check in with Mission Control at Washington University. Joining us right now, Barry Tobias, who's actually the assistant air traffic controller. Good morning, Barry. How are you?
Good morning. Fine, thanks.
Okay, when did you last talk to Steve, and what did he say?
The last time we talked to him was an email he sent about half an hour ago, just saying that he was going to get on the right frequency to talk to New Zealand Air Traffic Control, which he should be entering the airspace in about 30 minutes or so.
Where does that, Barry, where does that put him on the map right now in terms of how far he's traveled and how far he has to go still?
I think the camera's zooming in on the map over here. He's gone a couple thousand kilometers, and he's got about another 100 or so miles until he reaches New Zealand. And it's quite a bit far until he goes all the way around. We're looking at about another 9, 10, 11 days.
And what kind of weather does he have to go through this time?
The weather's actually pretty good. There are a couple of thunderstorms around where he is, but they're actually moving out of his way. And we're actually using the bad weather to our advantage to get some speed and hopefully make this trip a little quicker.
Sure. Now, in terms of what forced him out of the air on his last attempt, is there any way to foresee those problems down the road and try to avoid them?
Somewhat. What happened last time is we got some slow winds early in the beginning, and so by the time we got to South America, it was already 13, 14 days into the trip. And the weather forecasting that far away, the accuracy kind of diminishes. And so it's kind of a bit of luck with regard to what the weather will be like at that point. But right now we're looking at finishing this whole trip in about 12, 13 days. And so we're looking at good weather all the way, so we shouldn't have the same problem.
Speaking of looking, if folks want to come by, can they take a tour of Mission Control and watch you guys watching Steve?
Sure, there's actually a public viewing area. I believe it's open from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. It's in the Brookings Tower at Washington University.
And we're sort of taking a look around there right now. The folks over there right now are actually on the job monitoring Steve Fossett?
That's correct. We should be expecting a position report in about 10 minutes, and from that we'll go ahead and let all air traffic controllers know where he is, and the meteorologist will continue forecasting.
Barry Tobias, thanks for your time. We'll check in with you a little bit later in the morning.
My pleasure.
We appreciate that, Barry. Have a good morning, and our best to Steve Fossett. Thank you.
So I'm reaching the South American coast in just 8 days. It took me 11 and a half days last year. So it's going good, and the outlook is good. I may be flying fast for the rest of the trip.
Fossett is headed for Western Australia, where he set out from 10 days ago. He may see no more land until he hits Australia, unless for weather purposes he has to pass briefly over the Cape of Good Hope.
Doing extremely well compared to last year this time. Barry Tobias, you're following him. Give us an idea of where Steve is right now.
Steve's, as you said, in the South Atlantic. He's pretty much right south of England. In fact, he's in the same time zone as Greenwich Mean Time. And he's pretty much halfway about the Atlantic, heading about 65 miles an hour and heading straight for Cape Town.
Now, last year this time, he ran into a lot of strong winds and he had a lot of problems. None of that so far.
Well, we've had some adventures, but we've been able to maneuver around the winds. We've dropped down to 900 feet off the waves if need be, but we've got around them, and there's one more possible system we're looking at, but other than that, it's smooth sailing.
Folks who are watching this guy in his balloon, what are some of the necessary items he has up there with him? I hear it's really chilly.
Yeah, it is. It's about negative 40 degrees Fahrenheit outside. He's got a heater inside, though. Keeps about in Fahrenheit, about 60 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit. He's got his food that's not quite tasty, but you know, it gets him what he needs, and a lot of water.
When was the last time you talked to him?
We talked to him earlier this morning. He was kind of excited to get going across the Atlantic, and things were going well, and he was kind of in a joking mood and very exciting and everything.
Not tired at all?
Well, that's a given. I mean, he's exhausted after the last couple of days, but he's ready to make it to Australia.
Looks like he's going to be able to do it, you think? 70%?
Yeah, we just passed the 66% line about 10 minutes ago, and as we said, there's a possible storm that we're looking at that will maneuver around South Africa, but other than that, we're crossing our fingers.
All righty, we are definitely. Barry, thanks a lot. 70% done, Mark and Ann. He's 27,000 feet in the air. We're going to have much more. In fact, we're going to actually hear from the balloonist coming up in the next half hour. Stick around.
Oh, okay. He's cruising.
He is. We wish him luck. Thank you. Robert Townsend live over at Washington University.
Millionaire Steve Fossett is soaring over the South Atlantic. He is more than halfway around the world. Robert Townsend joins us live right now from Mission Control at Washington University, where Fossett followers are crossing their fingers.
Hi there. At this very minute, Steve Fossett, they tell us he's 27,000 feet in the air, still cruising over the Atlantic in his balloon. He tells us he's feeling very upbeat, very confident about his sixth attempt around the world solo in his balloon.
The weather routing has been excellent. So I'm reaching the South American coast in just 8 days. It took me 11 and a half days last year. So it's going good, and the outlook is good. I may be flying fast for the rest of the trip.
Now, the folks here at Mission Control have been following Fossett's trip around the clock. Jared Mackey, you're one of them. Give us an idea of how you guys communicate with Steve.
Well, regularly we receive position reports from him via fax. Occasionally we'll email with him or receive calls from him, usually just to check in and say he's doing fine and wondering how we're doing. Yeah. Occasionally we receive multimedia like you're looking at now, and the sound clip you heard earlier. Those we received from a chase plane that follows Steve around the world. This is a picture of him taken earlier. Actually, this is over the Pacific.
These are pretty cool pictures from cyberspace.
Mm-hmm. You can download these at our website.
Now, when you talk about, you guys keep saying that he's doing far better than he was doing last year. Are you surprised by that?
Not really. This is the best prepared we've been. We've had excellent forecasting, and I'd like to think that all the other previous missions have given us the experience for this.
No problems at all so far?
The occasional routine maintenance, but nothing that could stop the mission.
Now, I hear you guys are receiving phone calls from around the world.
Yeah, we get really interested people, news, media, people who just want to call in and say they're supporting him.
All righty, Jared, thanks a lot. Mark and Ann, he's a Chicago millionaire, 58 years old, married, an adventurer for sure. Definitely just trying to become this first person to travel the world in a balloon. Let's cross our fingers he surely will make it this time. What do you think?
Absolutely.
Well, I know a lot of people want him to finish because they're kind of sick of hearing about it.
All right.
But I do hope he makes it.
We do, indeed. Thank you, Robert Townsend.
They've been busy around the clock. David Perlman, you're one of those guys. Give me an idea as to how many folks make up Mission Control.
Well, about 50 people make up Mission Control. We have about 18 interns from Washington University. We also have about 6 or 7 people from the Steve Fossett team at Mission Control. And we have about 20 or 25 people that are also Washington University staff, and we also have staff from Bud Light.
Tell us more about the dynamics behind Mission Control.
In this room we have a large map that we track Steve Fossett on. And then over in this corner over here, we have the web team and the video actualities.
And what do they do?
Well, the web team helps communicate the Steve Fossett trip to the rest of the public and throughout the world.
And down here?
And down here we have Mission Control, and Mission Control is actually made up of several components. We have 2 air traffic coordinators that help get flight clearance as he goes over different countries. We also have 2 meteorologists, and we have a flight director and a project manager.
People all over the world are following Fossett.
Yes, they are. It's quite amazing. We get phone calls from Australia almost every morning because we're open 24 hours a day, and you know, in Australia it's morning it's afternoon when we're morning, and they always want to do interviews, and we've had phone calls from Poland and Germany and places all over. And today we had a phone call from Colorado, and we did an interview with them. So it's quite amazing, the interest on this balloon trip. And we also have a lot of balloon enthusiasts, and they come in here and they hang out and they try to watch what's happening. And I mean, it's just I didn't know that there was so much interest in ballooning.
Yeah,
until
definitely
I worked here.
fascinating. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it. Now, Mark and Ann, if all goes according to plan, cross your fingers. Fawcett should be completed by July 2nd, just next Tuesday.
Yeah.
Kevin Stas, you're one of the followers here at Mission Control. We hear that the wind is working in his favor.
Yeah, at the moment he's chucking along at about 60 knots and heading in a northeasterly direction towards Cape Town.
And that's why he's doing so well?
Yeah, the meteorologists have looked at the predictions, and he's doing a very good speed at the moment, and hopefully he'll be over South Africa tomorrow.
How would you compare this ride compared to last year's?
Oh, this ride is a lot better. We've now crossed South America. We're out in the South Atlantic, and he's really doing well.
What did he pack for the trip?
Well, he's got all sorts of things. He's got a computer. I think he's got a book, although I don't know which book it is. He's got his dried food, which the military use. I hope he's got his passport. And yeah, that's about it, really.
I hear a storm is brewing over South Africa.
Yeah, they're looking at the moment. We don't think at the moment it's going to cause many problems. Hopefully not. He should swing sort of round the coast of South Africa and then off to Australia, so he'll probably miss all that.
All righty, Kevin, thanks. We wish him well. The folks here are definitely upbeat. Equally so, Steve Fawcett says, hey, look, if everything goes according to plan, he should wrap up his historic ride next Tuesday, July 2nd. Mark and Ann, cross your fingers.